lessons. So we will read these two verses before we go over the details of the shlokas. Four, 20, 37. भगवानपि राजर्षे सोपध्यायस्य चायुच्युता हरण्यव मनो मुष्या स्वधर्मा pratyapajyata. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. The infallible Supreme Personality of Godhead, having captivated the minds of the king and the priests who were present, returned to his abode in the spiritual sky. Purport. Because the Supreme Personality of Godhead is all spiritual, he can descend from the spiritual sky without changing his body, and thus he is known as Achyuta or infallible. When a living entity falls down to the material world, however, he has to accept a material body. Therefore, in his material embodiment, he cannot be called Achyuta. Because he falls down from his real engagement in the service of the Lord, the living entity gets a material body to suffer or to try to enjoy in the miserable conditions of life. Therefore, the fallen living entity is Chuta, whereas the Lord is called Achyuta. The Lord was attractive for everyone, not only the kings, but also the priestly order, who were very much addicted to the performance of Vedic ritual. Because the Lord is all attractive, he is called Krishna, or one who attracts everyone. The Lord appeared in the sacrificial arena of Maharaj Prithu as Garbhodaka Shahi Vishnu, who is a plenary expansion of Lord Krishna. He is the second incarnation from the Karanodaka Shahi Vishnu, who is the origin of material creation, and who expands as Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu, who then enters into each and every universe. Kshirodaka Sai Vishnu is one of the Purushas who control the material modes of nature. Text 38. Adhishthaya namaskritya nripa sandarshtitatmane avyaktāya ca devanam devāya svapuram yayo. Translation. King Prithu then offered his respectful obeisances unto the personality of God, Supreme Personality of God, who is the Supreme Lord of all demigods. Although not an object of material vision, the Lord revealed himself to the sight of Maharaj Prithu. After offering obeisances to the Lord, the king returned to his home. Purport. The Supreme Lord is not visible to material eyes, but when the material senses are inclined to the transcendental loving service of the Lord and are thus purified, the Lord reveals himself to the vision of the devotee. Avyakta means unmanifested. Although the material world is the creation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is unmanifested to material eyes. Maharaj Prithu, however, developed spiritual eyes by his pure devotional service. Here, therefore, the Lord is described as Sandarshitatma for himself, for he reveals himself to the vision of the devotee, although he is not visible to ordinary eyes. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the fourth canto, 20th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Lord Vishnu's Appearance in the Sacrificial Arena of Maharaj Prithu. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhagavata Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So our discussion from Srimad Bhagavatam 4.20.37 and 38, where the last concluding part of Maharaj Prithu's darshan with the Supreme Lord is concluded. Maharaj Prithu, as mentioned over here, had got a special privilege of seeing the Supreme Lord, even though the Supreme Lord is unmanifested. No material vision can actually give us, or no material senses can actually access the Supreme Lord. For accessing the Supreme Lord, we need to have spiritual vision. And Srila Prabhupada says, spiritual visions are not necessarily, or spiritual vision are not something that we can try by our skills, by our efforts. Spiritual vision we get by the benedictions, the blessings from the Supreme Lord or his devotees. We need empowerment. Unless and until we are empowered, we will not be able to get any spiritual vision. So, to discuss this two shlokas in detail, let us walk through some set of reflections. And as we walk through those reflections, we will be able to understand and analyze some philosophy. There are many places where such spiritual darshans were made possible. And we can analyze all those examples, and through them we derive some lessons which are relevant for our own application in our own personal spiritual lives, and as well as we can teach others. And as I mentioned in the earlier session, Krishna's darshan in the sacrificial arena to Maharaj Prithu, Vishnu's darshan, was made available to Maharaj Prithu for his because of his obedience, surrender, humility towards his senior. Just because Maharaj Prithu, instead of challenging, instead of proving his point, instead of saying that let me only complete the fire sacrifice that I decided to finish, whether it is Indra or whomever that may be the case, trying to stop me over, I will still do what I want to do. Probably the course of directions wouldn't have been this, it would have been another war. When Brahma requested him that please give up, relinquish, don't try to fight over, because the purpose of the fire sacrifice is for our self-realization and something higher rather than some gross things. So when Maharaj Prithu obeyed Brahmaji, when he obeyed the orders of Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu appeared from the sacrificial arena. And when Lord Vishnu appeared in the sacrificial arena, there is a very wonderful and interesting conversation they had. And the result of Lord's darshan is going to be the prayojana, the final result is he is going to get personal association of self-realized souls. That's what Vishnu is telling to um, Ritu Maharaj. You got my darshan, great. You got my blessings, great. I am pleased, great. But the resultant of my pleasing is you're going to get association of my self-realized souls. You'll be able to serve them, receive them, host them, hear from them to achieve the perfection of all the process that you have done. So that's the like a cherry on the cake. So what enabled Maharaj Prithu to get this darshan and eventually going to have darshan of Sanat Kumaras is possible for all of us also. We are also eligible, we are also um, provided with all the necessary support to get the same blessings that Maharaj Prithu got, provided we understand the basics. We are going to have three sets of reflections, and through these three sets of reflections, we will churn these two shlokas. So the first reflection is about the set of people who got such divine darshan, where the unmanifested Supreme Lord revealed to a specific devotee and others couldn't see him. Number one in the line is Raghunandan Thakur. Raghunandan Thakur was a small boy. His father asked him to offer boga to the Supreme Lord at home because he had to urgently leave to attend the king's invite. Raghunandan Thakur agreed to offer boga, every example that we are going to quote have their own set of stories. So we are just going to list the examples and see what all they had possessed in common to derive a lesson for us. So when Raghunandan Thakur repeatedly requested the Lord to come and accept the boga, Angani Yasya Sakala Indriya Vritti Manti, Krishna had seen that boga, accepted it, honored it, it has already become prasadam. But Raghunandan Thakur, being a small boy, he was crying, he was weeping, saying that when my father used to offer you food, you used to accept, my dear Lord. What is the problem with me? Please, because I'm a child, you are not accepting, or is there any mistake at my end? So he kept on crying. Then the Lord finally accepted the boga and finished the entire plate. Physically, Lord personally came and sat, and Raghunath Thakur had darshan. When Raghunath Thakur's father came and asked him, "Hey, what happened to the Mahaprasad?" He said, "The Lord ate." They thought the boy was notorious. So instead of scolding him, he wanted to catch him red handed. So he asked his wife to make some other boga. So she made laddus and gave it. She said, "Now you go and offer." And this time again, the boys did the same thing. And the father was hiding behind to see what the boy was doing. And the boy was pleading and crying. Once again, the Lord appeared. And the Lord started eating the laddus. And as soon as the father saw this, the Lord vanished with half laddu in his hand. So the Lord gave his darshan, unmanifested form, abhyakta form, which anybody can't see. He gave that darshan to Raghunathan Thakur. Lord gave his darshan to Prahlad Maharaj. Lord gave his darshan to Dhruva Maharaj. Lord gave his darshan to Narada Muni. Lord gave his darshan to Arjuna. Here Lord is giving darshan to Prithu Maharaj. Lord has given darshan to so many people. And those darshans were exclusive darshan, one-on-one darshan. Others who were present couldn't see them. Others who were standing there, sitting around, they are not able to see the form of the Lord, which these all great personalities could see. And there are three principles that I want to list to enable us to see the Lord. Principle number one, I mean, there could be 30 principles. We can go on listing, but three top principles that I personally always feel it's important for us to meditate on. The first principle is in all of them, their intention was never to see the Lord. They worked in such a manner to be seen by the Lord. Srila Prabhupada writes in more than one places that the success of our Krishna consciousness is not in trying to see the Lord. The success of our Krishna consciousness is to behave in such a manner, to lead our life in such a manner that we can be seen by the Lord and his dear devotees. And all of these personalities, they have, by their own character, by their own innocence, by their own submissiveness. So, number one is that we need to lead our lives in such a manner rather than trying to prove a point, rather than trying to think that Krishna consciousness is a pretty quantitative phenomena. We need to come out of that zone and try to each and every one of our actions should be spiritualized so that Krishna will see us. We will be seen by our spiritual master. We will be getting the special benedictions of self realized souls, which otherwise is very rare. कौन भाग्यवान जीव गुरु कृष्ण प्रसादे पाय भक्ति लता बीज ब्रह्मांड ब्रह्मिते कौन. So that Bhagyavan Jeev, that blessed soul, can get Krishna's darshan. So for us to become the blessed one, we are already blessed. That's why we are here. But if we continue this, then we will be able to eventually get the darshan of the Supreme Lord. So number one is in our character. So how our character, it's a pretty long, is a, the character as a word is um, pretty deep because every possible character is listed. But then a character by which we can make the Lord to smile and our spiritual master to smile. So we need to constantly work internally. That's why Krishna consciousness is a process not for us to show off, not to just achieve something in terms of a gross things. Krishna consciousness is a very subtle and is a process of internal purification. So long as we are not working for our internal purification, how much ever external we may do, nothing will happen to us. So we may just look like a devotee, but we will never be one. So first reflection, first point is to have character development. And number two, by which the Lord can turn his face towards us, is when we are showing our compassion towards other living entities. First is self character development, very important, cultivating your own character. Second is showing compassion towards other living entities. And as a part of this, we try to extend, going out of the way, extending ourselves, voluntarily accepting some discomfort and trying to help others to practice Krishna consciousness. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has said more than once that who is dear to him, what pleases him, who is his devotee, and all of them involves our being not only just a devotee but as well as a preacher. So our life of spreading Krishna consciousness, giving Krishna consciousness to others, not just a formality, but by our endeavor by our regular thinking, by our own parishram. We need to demonstrate that we are interested in giving Krishna to others. They may not be interested in Krishna consciousness. People are not here for spirituality. People are here only for sense gratification. But to make them Krishna conscious, to bring them to Krishna consciousness, we need to model. We also need to extend all the possible support, love, and care. So, this devotee care is a pretty big topic in ISKCON now. This devotee care is not just pick up a phone and ask them to call to come for a program. Mataji or Prabhuji, tomorrow there is a program. Will you please come? Call them and say, Mataji, why did you not come? It's not only that. Devotee care is to model them, lead a life in such a way that we help them as well as we can try to spiritualize every walks of somebody's life. It may not happen immediately, it may take a long time in some cases. And in some cases it will be tough. And Srila Prabhupada demonstrated that the process of Krishna consciousness can transform most low consciousness person to elevate to a higher level of consciousness. So, character, second is compassion. So, being compassionate is something that should be an integral part of our spirituality. And this compassionate is not only with other human beings, compassionate is towards all the living jivas. Once group of devotees, they had told Prabhupada that they are going for Harinam Sankirtan. So Srila Prabhupada said how long it will take. So they said, Srila Prabhupada, it will take 40 minutes to 1 hour. So they were going on a particular street for Nagar Sankirtan. So, but then they came back, I mean, within a very short time. So Srila Prabhupada asked, what happened? You all went for Nagar Sankirtan, but you all came back early. No, Srila Prabhupada, that these all streets were empty. There were hardly anyone there. Srila Prabhupada asked, didn't you see plants, trees, birds, insects? This holy name can deliver them also. So please go to Nagar Sankirtan. Our Hare Krishna Mahamantra is not only for humanity, it is for all the living beings. Whoever comes in contact with this sound vibration, they get benefited. So Srila Prabhupada sent them back. Mrigari demonstrated by his own example. Once he was half killing animal, but then when he started developing taste in spirituality, in chanting, he was not even ready to step over a set of hands. So it's going to put us a very important question, that how caring and loving we need to be towards other living entities. We do not have rights to kill, disturb, harm any living entities. May it be grass, as we sit in the garden, we keep plucking them out. May it be pesticides. I'm not going to get into the conversation is pesticide good or bad or should be done or not done. But the point here is that we do not have rights to harm anybody. We have rights or we have to serve. The process of Krishna consciousness is very scientific. So just because we can't follow the process, there may be some tough components to it. Just getting a shortcut has become the trend now. But because we are talking Siddhanta, Krishna consciousness needs to be absolutely followed to see the result that is being stated. Of late, devotees have said that this won't work here, this won't be possible, this is not realistic, this is not in Kali Yuga, this is not for this. These are all something that we hear. But when Prabhupada, when Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita, when Prabhupada gave the purport, he gave this purport for next 10,000 years, which means all that is being mentioned can be applied for the current context. Maybe somebody need to model it, maybe somebody need to demonstrate it, maybe it may not be done the same way as it was done before. That's fine, but the principles cannot be changed. So compassion is number two quality to get Krishna's attention, Vaishnava's attention. And number three is that whilst we may have good character, whilst we have while we are compassionate, we need to make sure that anukulyena is important. I may have compassion, I may also be good character person, but if I am not following in the footsteps of my predecessor acharyas, and that's a principle called madhyada vyatikrama, then no magic will happen. Because good character and preaching is on the basis of how much I am in line, how much I am following, how much I am not deviating from what our predecessors, acharyas, have taught us. That is why we always have a need of acharyas to come and time and again reinforce the instructions and to also state things according to our current context. There was a very interesting debate or discussion where if Prabhupada has already given all the purports, or even if that is matter, Rupa Goswami has given everything. So why we need future acharyas? So we are good enough. This is we have everything to be, needing for our rest of our spiritual life. For sure, yes. But then we need living devotees. We need self-realized souls to come walk around us to articulate what our acharyas have shared. And along with their own realizations, when we hear those instructions, we get the instructions to the current context, so we are able to, relate to it. Srila Prabhupada, when he did his translation, if you see Srila Prabhupada's translations, not all the translation or literal translation of the shloka, word to word, literal, what is written in the shloka is not written in the translation. Srila Prabhupada kind of paraphrases them. That paraphrasing is a very important component, otherwise, it will completely derail those who are um, unscrupulous men. They can completely take this to a different level. They can tangentially confused. So this paraphrasing by Srila Prabhupada, for example, Mahaprabhu went in the streets of Nadia and chanted the holy name. And I'm just, giving an example. So Prabhupada would have translated, Mahaprabhu went in the streets of Nadia and chanted Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So where is in that shloka that Hare Krishna Mahamantra is fully written? If it is literal translation, it should have been present in the shloka. But Prabhupada is saying Harinam Sankirtan in this age of Kali, as enunciated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, means Hare Krishna Mahamantra. There are many mantras. All the mantras have their potency. Krishna's name, Rama's name, the Supreme Lord's name is fully potent. But as a Yuga Dharma, he wanted to reinforce, reinstate constantly that Hare Krishna Mahamantra is important. So that is Acharya. So when Prabhupada is explaining about Anukulyena, Anukulya, Pratikulya. Anukulya means favorably following in the footsteps of Acharyas. Anukulyena Krishna Anusilanam. The bija of pure devotional service is described by this line. Pure devotional service in Nectar of Devotion, Rupa Goswami explains. Pure devotional service is defined by this sloka, Anya Abhilashita Sunyam, Jnana Karma Dhyanavritam, Anukulyena Krishna Anusilanam. So this shloka is technically analyzed as two parts. One part of the shloka is called primary characteristics of pure devotional service. Second part of this is the secondary characteristics of pure devotional service. The primary characteristics of pure devotional service is this line. Anukulyena Krishna Anusilanam Bhakti Uttama. What does this line says? Anukulyena means favorably. Anusilanam means following in the footsteps of predecessors. So if we are not doing either of them, we have to do favorable service. Number two, in the footsteps of our predecessor Acharyas, Bhakti Uttama. And I'm just adding a component to this third part of the first reflection is that we need to show some sign of Madhyada Vyatikrama. If you want to know more about it, we can have a separate class on that. If you go to third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada explains a wonderful purport on this point. What is Madhyada Vyatikrama? He says, when Maitreya and Vidura, when Vidura came, when Vidura left the palace Hastinapur and he went to forest, he met Uddhava and Maitreya. And he fell at both of their feet and asked for directions, asked for instructions. That time Uddhava told Maitreya, please speak to him on the science of Krishna consciousness. What we are currently discussing is also conversation between Uddhava and Maitreya. So that time Prabhupada is writing that Uddhava and Maitreya both had the darshan of the Supreme Lord. Both had the instructions from the Supreme Lord. Both heard from Krishna, his heart. But then Uddhava, giving respect to Maitreya's seniority, is requesting Maitreya to speak. Of course, this is one reason. There is also a hidden reason, because Krishna had asked Uddhava to go to Badrikashram and fulfill some responsibility. So Uddhava had other agendas to fulfill because Krishna had already left the planet or leaving the planet. So Uddhava had to do that service. At the same time, Uddhava was showing a respect of a senior. That purpose Prabhupada writes, Maryada Vyatikrama means when we are in the presence of senior devotees, when we are in the presence of advanced devotees, when we are in the presence of self-realized soul, we should behave in such a manner that, as we discussed in one of the earlier sessions, consider ourselves submissive, foolish, stupid in front of them, and try to keep our hormones for learning rather than challenging and fault finding. We should always consider ourselves as a student in front of such self-realized soul and should be eager to hear from them and learn from them. You may be technically, theoretically, knowledgeably more than them, but they are very close to Krishna, and Krishna has decided to bestow their benediction upon them. So hence their blessings are more important than our knowledge. So hence the first reflection is about how can we attract Lord's attention, darshan. How can we make Lord reveal himself to us? The second reflection is about what is mentioned here as Chuta and Achyuta. So the nature of all of us in this material world is such that we are constantly making mistakes. We have our own shortcomings. Prabhupada writes in the purport of 37, because he falls down from his real engagement in the service of the Lord, the living entity gets a material body to suffer or try to enjoy in the miserable conditions of life. Fall down in Krishna consciousness is a huge, huge agenda. There are two different views, and I will not get into that debate now. But rather than discussing how did we fall down from the spiritual world, we need to also analyze how are we falling down in the spiritual life whilst we are here. Because fall down in Krishna consciousness is something that is happening regularly to all of us. We keep falling down and rising up, falling down and rising up. Or we are falling down or somebody is helping us to rise up. So once we discuss the full algorithm or the steps of how a fall down actually happen. And fall down begins with aparad and ends by turning our face against Krishna and Krishna consciousness in such a manner that we think that this is not my cup of milk or whatever that is. So the point is that fall down or deviation from Krishna consciousness, as Prabhupada writes, from the service of the Supreme Lord, not necessarily from the spiritual world, fall down from the real engagement from the service of the Lord. So, which means if we are engaged in Krishna's service, we may fall down if we are, number one, if you are fault finding on others, number two, if you are envious of others, and number three, if you are ungrateful to others. So these three things are good enough reason for some of us to slip from our Krishna consciousness position, Krishna consciousness uh, level. So in our devotional journey, we need to watch out for these three things. Never find fault at others unless and otherwise That's your service. Because sometimes, as a counselor or as a leader or as a spiritual master, you may need to help your subordinates. So, for that matter, you need to kind of find their fault to help them improve upon. Unless otherwise, that's a service empowered upon you, and that service also need to be done with utmost caution. Please don't find fault because we have enough agenda upon us to do. And number two, enviousness is something that cannot be purified, cannot be taken to the spiritual world. And third is being ungrateful. This gratitude, we have spoken about this in many sessions before, that it's a very important ingredient. Gratitude and humility are the only two things that can help us sustain our devotional life. So the second reflection is that what will save us from falling down, what will save us from being a Chuta forever, and eventually stop us in getting attracted to Achyuta and getting to see the unmanifested form in our own naked eyes in this material world whilst we are here, is these three things. And my third reflection is about how does Krishna give darshan. So there are many ways in which Krishna gives darshan. So for some people, he would have come as Sham Sundar. For some people, he would have come as uh, the same Lord in the same spiritual body. But for most of us who are sadhakas, who are still practicing Krishna consciousness, Krishna do come. So learn to recognize him when he is coming, else we will miss a chance. He'll keep coming, he'll keep knocking on our doors, he'll keep endeavoring to try to make us devotees, but then why to keep sending him back and asking him to come again? Upadrishta Anumanta cha Bhukta Bhokta Maheshwaraha. 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that I sit in the heart as everybody's friend, as Paramatma, and I am Upadrishta. I am witnessing all our actions, all your actions. Anumanta, I am sanctioning them. I am the beneficiary. I am the one who is your friend. I am the controller. I am the master. So please take advantage of my presence and try to learn. So there are many ways by which Krishna gives his darshan. Of course, one obvious is in the form of deities, which generally all Kanishta would agree. All people who are beginners, they say, yes, Krishna is in the temple. Only Nastik, only atheistic people don't agree that. So for sure, deities are Archa Vigraha form, where Krishna is present to take service from us and to also interact and build relationship with us. Krishna is coming to our house in the form of deities, not just it is to show us a status symbol. Today, initiation, deity, preaching program, and all those things are, Bhakti Shastri degree, they are somewhere become a gross status symbol. They are not for that. They are for a higher purpose. So Krishna is present in the form of deities, so treat your deities at home as Krishna present at home. Treat him as one of the family member and try to relate with him. He reciprocates. You can speak to him. You can express yourself to him. You can celebrate with him. You can share your sorrow with him. He helps you. Today, this can happen. And those who are doing that, those who are experiencing that, they only can, acknowledge this. Others will think that this is something, There are people who can experience Krishna much better, where they can get to see the Lord in the form of His holy name. Because some primitive understanding is holy name is for us to get Krishna, which is true statement, but it's a partial statement. Holy name is Krishna Himself. So when we get more, closer to Krishna, when we understand the spiritual science much more deeper, when we are trying to correlate to all these things that we just said, then we will start realizing Krishna is here. Krishna is in the holy name. You will be able to see Krishna. When we are chanting Krishna, you are able to feel Krishna. So this realization, I am sure some of you would have had it, that how holy name is Krishna. I am yet to find that moment or that experience or that stage. But that's what Shastra assures. Keep doing your chanting. This is the means and this is also the end. So Krishna comes to us in the form of holy name. So eternally we can associate with Krishna and enjoy with Krishna when he is with us in the form of a holy name. So for a devotee, when chanting has not just become his daily sadhana 16 rounds, it has become his opportunity to associate with Krishna. For him, 16 rounds will not matter. Though 16 rounds would be completed anyway, he will keep going, keep going, keep going, and enjoy chanting the holy name of the Lord. For us, we have not. Some of us have not yet developed a taste. So to test yourself, how much you are able to develop taste in chanting, that much we are coming closer to Krishna. We are able to relate holy name as the Supreme Lord Himself. Great. Diyatam diyatam karno niyatam niyatam vacha giyatam giyatam nityam harer namaiva kevalam. Kevalashtakam says that every day I am remembering, I am glorifying the holy name. Harer namaiva kevalam. Once we get to the stage of holy name is Krishna Himself, our consciousness expands. Then we are able to see the third stage or third way by which one can see Krishna is amongst all the jivas. In all the jivas, Vidya Vidya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Suni Chaiva Swapagecha Pandita Samadarshina. A person can see Krishna in everyone's heart. That's when his compassion increases. That's when he is able to relate. He is able to see Krishna in every jiva, tree, plants, animals, birds, beasts, wife, husband, children, guru, friend, enemy. Everywhere you can see Krishna. So our respect towards them, our perspective towards them changes. Once we come to this level of maturity, our maturity will further increase where we are not only seeing Krishna in every jiva, we are also learning to see everything belongs to Krishna. We are able to relate, these all are Krishnas. We are able to appreciate that all that I see, all that I possess, all that exists in the world belongs to the Supreme Lord. We belong to the Supreme Lord and we are just His instruments. We are just His part. So just talking that I am part and parcel of the Supreme Lord and realizing that I am part and parcel of the Supreme Lord are two, you know, big things. So we will be able to see. So that's when we will be able to see all the energies, all the resources as Krishnas. That is why a devotee is the best person to do resource management because he will not waste electricity, he will not waste water, he will not waste food, he will not waste anything just by whatever the society is propagating. that resource consolidation and resource preservation. A devotee will be naturally conscious. If a light is on, if the fan is rotating, if the AC is on, he will naturally go and put it off. He will not think that that is that Prabhu's electricity bill. Why I have to worry? He will think that this is Krishna's resource. It should not go waste. Mother Yashoda felt that it is Krishna's milk that is boiling in the stove. How can I allow the Krishna's milk to spill? He is also trying to serve Krishna. So in the spiritual context, everything is, life. Everything is conscious. There is nothing called as uh, inert matter. So that's the fourth level or development in our consciousness to see Krishna. Further development of consciousness will also say we can even see Krishna when we face some challenges in our lives. It is not that when we are successful in our life, we go and thank Krishna, say, Krishna, thank you, you bestowed out your benediction upon us. When challenges are also coming to us, we can thank Krishna and recognize that is actually Krishna. It is not that, some uh, punishment towards us. Even if it is a punishment, it is also coming from Krishna. The point is, we will be able to see Krishna in challenges also in our lives. So the point that I'm trying to say is that till we rise up or rise our consciousness, till we develop our character, till we become compassionate, till we fully follow in the footsteps of self-realized soul, till we are making sure that we are not doing any aparad, we are not fault finding, we are envious, till we are stopping ourselves from committing all those crimes. We need to identify, we need to keep looking Krishnas in our lives and start working on our Krishna consciousness. And more than us, Krishna is eager to help us, so he will constantly be available for us. It is us who need to become the patra, who need to become the vessel to receive Krishna's benedictions. I'll just finish with this one single point. Henceforward, going to Krishna and asking Krishna, oh my dear Lord, why are you not merciful to me? Henceforward, going to Krishna and asking, oh my dear Lord, when will you bestow your benediction upon me? And henceforward, going to Krishna and saying that, how long I should wait for your mercy? Don't state any of these things because they are not true. Krishna's mercy is constantly flowing. What we should pray is, my dear Lord, when will the day come when I will be able to receive that mercy? When will the day come where I will be able to, appreciate and become the recipient of it? As I always give the example that the mobile signals is already there in the space. The satellite television signal is already there in the space. If you want to see the effect of the signal, you don't have an instrument, and an instrument need to be hooked up in the form of a SIM card or whatever um, set-top box or whatever you may call. Tune it to the frequency, then we will be able to receive the signal. So there is no problem at the transmission end. Oh, I am not able to getting the signal. I'm not getting the signal. Not getting the signal is not necessary, or it's never. In this case of Krishna consciousness from the transmission zone, mercy is constantly being transmitted upon. It is only us who have to become uh, the patra, the vessel, the ingredient, the instrument to receive that mercy. So we need to fine tune our frequency to the frequency of the Supreme Lord, and then immediately everything will be revealed to us. And what we just spoke about today are the uh, are some tips, some help to fine tune our frequency so that we are able to see that Supreme Lord in our lives. So thank you so much. Grantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. If there are any questions or comments, we can discuss.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for the beautiful class.
Thank you so much for engaging me. Anybody has any questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. Prabhuji, you mentioned about, one is in the wrong path. How do we know that we are in a falling down state, Prabhu? I mean, is there any sign we can see we are,
Yes.
we are, yes,
There,
Hare Krishna.
yes, I'll explain that. There was one of the sessions in Chaitanya Charitamrita forum, probably a year before. I spoke on this one whole class on fall down in Krishna consciousness. So there is it's a step. There are 6, 7 steps. I'll try to quickly summarize them. If possible, when I get that recording, I can share that with you. So the first, generally we all are, practicing Krishna consciousness nicely. The first and foremost stage where we start slipping or deviating from Krishna consciousness is the day we commit aparad. If you have taken initiation, if a person has accepted a bona fide spiritual master and has sincerity in his practice, all his sins that he has committed up till this point in time are completely washed. So past sins are clean. So there is no sin anymore. So sinful reactions are, there are no sinful reactions for those who have accepted bona fide spiritual master. There may be some effect. Prabhupada says this. Once a person has surrendered to a bona fide spiritual master, even though all the sins are washed away, it is like a fan is rotating and you put off the fan, so the sinful effects are stopped. That uh, fan, because it was rotating, it take few minutes to come to standstill. So there may be some residual uh, things that might need to be done. So, or some certain things that are already manifested in terms of prarabdha. For example, I'm lame, deaf, mute. So those are things that we have to live with. But otherwise, all the other subtle sin or sinful effects are purified. Rest of the life in Krishna consciousness, what do we suffer for is because of our aparadha. So aparadha means against Srimati Radharani. So when somebody commits the aparadha, one immediate thing that happens is his taste for chanting the holy name reduces, his taste for performing devotional service reduces. As soon as this happens, our taste for materialistic association increases. These two things happen simultaneously. Because when we are trying to pour, because aparad is like an acid poured on the seed. Bhaktilata beej, any seed, if you pour an acid, that's all. You cannot, grow them anymore. So the fertility is killed. So aparad is something like that. But you know, Vaishnavas are merciful that we are forgiven to rejuvenate the seed which is lost also. The process is so sublime. Otherwise, if it's a one-way traffic, that just because I committed aparadha and that's all finished forever, then probably we have no hope. So the process is so sublime that the way we fall down, we can also rise up. And that's what Krishna's kindness upon us. So when we commit aparad, we lose taste in chanting, we lose taste in service. The, the third is we naturally develop taste in Gramya Katha, Baudik, materialistic association, and those looks meaningful. And the fourth is that we will be starting to think, starting to identify materialistic person as spiritual person, spiritual person, and spiritualistic persons as materialistic persons. Because one of the important identification is if you start to see anybody spiritual as material, and if you start to respect anybody material as spiritual, there is something wrong, because ignorance means to consider reality as illusion and illusion as reality. So that is a very significant stage where we can identify. And at that stage, where we are trying to give importance to materialistic association and consider them bona fide, and defame or disrespect spiritual association and try to ignore them for whatever may be the reason, then we have some difficulty in our spirituality. So better we fix them. If we don't fix them, the next stage is that is a stage of trying to seek shelter in materialistic solace rather than Krishna consciousness, where we see many times people say, in terms of different lifestyle, they instead of chanting, they would have taken to some meditation, some yoga, some therapy, some specialized, secluded living, and they would have gone away from Srimad Bhagavatam, Sankirtan, and holy name. So the stage five, where we try to take ourselves away from the sadhu sangha. That is why privacy is allowed to self introspect and self reflect, but seclusion is not allowed. If you are secluding yourself, if you are taking yourself away from the sangha of devotees, it's dangerous. And the stage six is the stage where we will start to justify how a materialistic way of life or the alternative ideologies that we have embraced is much beneficial, much supportive, and we will try to give a justice to our own action over spirituality. Many people have questioned Srila Prabhupada's purport. Many people have challenged Srila Prabhupada's directives. They think that Prabhupada would have said that in a specific context, but that's not for eternity, that's not for reality. Srila Prabhupada said that in a context-based situation. So many interpretations people have. So these are all some royal road to fall down. And finally, we are in a stage where we won't come back. We are always, turning ourselves away towards that. To come back, three things are good enough. Number one, asking for forgiveness. Number two, try to be remembering and appreciating or being grateful to whatever help that we receive. And number three, that definitely we need to go back to the stage of active chanting. Because as we progress, the chanting happens, but we slowly give up to a stage where first chanting will reduce, then chanting will stop, then Kantimala will go off, then Tilak will go off, then conversations will change, food habits will change. One fine day you will find yourself, not able to relate yourself with devotees, and that guilt of you are not able to relate with devotees will not make you come back to devotees. So, I mean, I must have missed certain details to the whole thing because we had very thoroughly analyzed this. I will try to find out that details and share that with you, uh, Prabhu. But this is a summary of what I could think of. So thank you for asking this question, because this is a very important thing that every one of us need to be afraid of. Fall down in Krishna consciousness. We are bound to fall down here. I mean, because of our own, what Prabhupada uses the word called doggish mentality. Srila Prabhupada uses the word doggish mentality because we have this propensity of jumping over this, over that over this, and because of that, we will constantly fight. That's why we need to be a bit careful to be surrounded by devotees who keep us on the track. Am I making some sense, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much for so much of valuable information, Prabhu. And I think all the incidents you mentioned are real and practical. So thank you so much. Hopefully, we all will be able to keep up with those instructions, Prabhu. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. Hare Krishna. Any other questions or comments? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Very, very beautiful class, Prabhuji. Very, very nice question and very nice answer, Prabhuji. And very nice pastimes you have shared. And you are talking about like the how devotees caring and everything. And the pastime was also very nice about Ragun. I forgot the devotee name. That pastime was also so nice, Prabhuji. And very nice and detailed, Prabhu. So our consciousness should be always that we should not fall down, right? So like thinking on meditating on that is like Prabhu, always I feel that I will fall down, I'll fall down, like it scares me a lot. So how do we come out of it? So can you give me any anything that I cannot, I don't feel like that always, and being myself scared always in Krishna consciousness, how do I deal the situation, Prabhu? Every day
Um,
I feel that
it's a
in my mind.
again we have discussed in one of the earlier classes about the philosophy of fear. So fear is a very interesting quality that a devotee need to process it very nicely, because there are certain things that a devotee should fear. There are certain things that a devotee need not fear. Okay, what we are supposed to be afraid of, if you are not afraid of, and what we are supposed to be not afraid of, if you are afraid of, then we have a problem. I'll just quickly list them. In fact, as we did the exclusive session on fall down, we also had an exclusive session on fear. I can still try to find out, but then let me just list those points. A devotee should fear for the following set of things. You should definitely fear some, because this fear of committing Vaishnava aparad is a very good fear to have. It is like Prabhupada says that fear from fire does not put us a coward. It puts us an intelligent person. I am fearing for fire, which means I'm intelligent. If I'm not fearing for fire, then I have a problem. Fire will burn us, so I should fear for it. So unless otherwise you are some athlete, you want to prove something the whole world. So fear for Vaishnava aparad, fear for evil effects of Maya, fear for associating with worldly minded person, fear for our demoniac qualities are very good. What are we not supposed to fear? Don't fear that because I'm practicing Krishna consciousness, people will mock us, people will, make fun of us, people will defame us. Don't fear about your image being, differently understood by your friends, relatives, neighbors. So don't fear for it, because we are not, doing anything for their sake. Their importance and their opinion about our lives will matter only for 5 minutes. Beyond that point in time, they will not be able to think about us. They will have their own lives. We have to look upon our own lives, that how we need to fix it. So let us not fear for defame. Let's not fear for being an odd man out in the society, because devotees are not, as of now, not the masses here. The mass is only materialistic people. So don't fear for being a odd man out, because every successful person is an odd man out, and every notorious person is an odd man out. Just the masses are in the middle. If you look at the number of demons, I mean, they are all unique demons where Krishna had killed. So they are odd man out. Not everybody was like, I mean, those days, but nowadays demons are becoming quite obviously everywhere within us also. But then the point is, every successful person is an odd man out. Not everybody succeeds. So being a devotee, being a person who is practicing Krishna consciousness, he may be different from everybody else, but that's okay. So let us not fear about it. Don't fear for the demands from the society for us to behave in a particular way. Our friends may ask us to behave in a particular way, our family, our relatives, our society, they may demand, they may superimpose, this is how we should be dressing, this is how we should be walking, this is what we should be eating. So there will be demand, there will be pressure upon us. We call them as peer pressure. Colleagues will say in the office. So there's a very interesting conversation that Sripad Madhavendra Puri says. I have, I think, spoken about that as well once, where he says that Vedantist used to mock him, moralist may say him, friends may say him, relatives may say, many people may say that we are doing something funny, but then it is not for them, it's for us, and to develop a devotional life, to go back to God. So you need not fear for that. And last but not least, we need not fear for glorifying the Supreme Lord and serving the Supreme Lord at any point in time. Of course, we are not proposing anybody to be a fanatist, but we can definitely be bold in speaking, glorifying, serving the Supreme Lord at every forum possible. So, your fear of falling down, rather than fearing of falling down, you fear for Vaishnava aparad. That's good. Falling down is not some sort of a threat. Falling down is a resultant of our own actions and decisions. So if you are careful about your own actions and decisions, fall down is not that. Krishna is not a ruthless person trying to whip on our back to slip us away from this path of Krishna consciousness. Krishna is finding out reasons. So I always say this: a kid slips down, but a mother helps the kid to rise up. So similarly, if we are always with our mothers or guardian, even if we apparently slip down, we will be given a helping hand to rise up. But provided we have to accept their accept their authority, accept their support, rather than being an adamant egoistic person. So this process is actually very scientific from that perspective. Hence, don't worry about fall down. Fear about aparad, then fall down can never happen, because this process is so sublime that it will cure, and as well as it will take us to the destination. Hare Krishna. Any other questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much for the beautiful points, and thank you so much for the main thing that you're telling to me to concentrate on about, like, instead of concentrating on fall down, just concentrate on what actions we are doing every day that reacts us to go fall down. So concentrate on Vaishnava Parad. That's really helping Prabhuji. I just always think of Maya, usually Krishna, like in Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada always says, and like in the purports, he will explain as like, Maya can catch us anytime. So that's the only thing always I think about it. But when your actions are perfect, like Krishna will definitely pick us as like mother picking a child. A very nice explanation, Prabhu. Thank you so much for such a beautiful point.
Hare
Hari
Krishna.
bol.
Hare Krishna. Any other questions or comments?
Hare Krishna. If there are no more questions, we can end the call here. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Once again, thank you so much for such a beautiful class and very nice question answer session, Prabhuji. If we would like to offer obeisances to you and all the Vaishnavas. Vancha kalpatarobhyasya kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrind ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His Grace Ramgiridhari Prabhuji ki jai. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
This session is no longer being recorded.